Good evening, Scott. We're halfway through the regular season, and some teams are living on a prayer. How are you this evening, my friend?
I am good, and I didn't realize we're halfway through the regular season. If you're just going to week 14, we truly
fantasy regular season is probably what I should have said.
No, but I mean our brains are fantasy, so we don't even count like week 18 for our brains. And obviously, we talk about 17 games all the time, but 17 weeks for fantasy. But honestly, if you're not there, if you're not in the playoffs, you're only playing 14, 15, depending on the format. But most leagues, it's 14.
14,
we're halfway there, and tons of bye weeks left. Hopefully you don't have a trade deadline. That's something we can probably talk about later in the year when we get closer to most people's trade deadlines. But doing well, halfway in. I didn't realize it until you said it, but let's rock.
Yeah. It kind of it's fast. You know, we do all this deep dive during the off season, do rookie box, do all these different, deep dives into these prospects and whatnot. And we're already 7 weeks into the season. Like, it's just crazy to just, we got 2 games that are going to happen in about 45 minutes. If you haven't picked up your phone or looked at social media or have 27 notifications, Emeka Egbuka is starting tonight. Like, he is playing. So, Scott, I'm sure you have a few Egbukas. Or would you start Emeka Egbuka tonight? If you, I guess, in an emergency, you would have to. But if you've already had a pivot, you were planning on him not starting, but yet he is now. Would you start him?
Well, I mean, it is Monday night. So a lot of leagues, if you've already locked somebody into that spot because you were worried that he wouldn't play, you might not be able to get out of him. But I have 2 leagues where I had to decide if I wanted to put him in or not. So I'll run them by you. So the 2 teams, I had the option because I still had like a Monday night player or whatever to sub out. Emeka Egbuka or Woody Marks. That was an easy one for me to put Emeka Egbuka in.
Yes, I would put Egbuka in there, that one.
The other one, though, Mike Evans or Emeka Egbuka.
Ooh, I think I would probably lean Evans.
I had Evans in already. I did not change that one only because I had planned it from the beginning. This is Evans coming back. Egbuka was probably going to be out. I set that lineup early in the week. I look back, I probably could have. It's a 2 PPR, but I played Zach Ertz. I probably could have not played him and taken Egbuka and played both Buccaneers receivers, but basically 1 in, 1 out. But hey, he's a great receiver in a good situation. So I mean, don't be shocked if we're all worried about. I mean, I'm fearful that they have a bye week next week, that he gets re-injured and then it hurts the rest of the year. But we could also be looking up and he goes for 25 and you forget he was even injured. And it was just it wasn't even an injury, even though it looked like last week he was going to be out.
Yeah.
And it's like, he wasn't even hurt. He healed. He's fine. Smash season is on. So who knows?
Yeah. It's the best outcome for him tonight. Not 5 for 70 and 2 touchdowns, but just no injury. Like, just get through tonight, not hurt. Like, just.
Yeah. And I'm playing him over Cooper Kupp, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. Especially with Houston. Yeah. I'm playing him. I'll take the risk. Yeah. So let's talk about that yesterday. Because yesterday there was a lot that went on. A lot of big performances. I mean, JT had 3 touchdowns. Jugkids had 3 touchdowns. BTJ can't catch the football, apparently. Like, people are freaking out about that. There might be a new wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, and we'll talk about that later. But one of the ideas that I was thinking about, and one of the takeaways is, Scott, the rookie picks have kind of just felt like a roulette wheel this year. Like, it just feels like 1 week Aston Genty, he's in, and now this week folks are kind of just like, not really sure because the Raiders offensive line is bad. I mean, if you watched Wake Up this morning, Ray and Jay Rich went through a deep dive on just how like putrid the Raiders offense was yesterday. Like, it was just bad. But I mean, let's talk about the rookies and just, for me, I looked at the rookie class. We all came in with a lot of hype, a lot of buzz. A lot of folks were, wanting to make a lot of these picks. And now there's kind of, I don't want to call it maybe buyer's remorse, but just like, you could have sold that 108 that you drafted Caleb Johnson with for Rashee Rice or JT, right? And now you look back and it's like, all these rookies are kind of like a roulette wheel. Like, you just kind of spin, you just don't know what you're going to get. So maybe talk about the rookie picks. Maybe, as we're looking at 2026, we had a conversation on Saturday night in the community chat inside the Discord, about just some of these picks and where we kind of feel like uncomfortable with the picks. So maybe we can continue that conversation here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be hindsight when you're looking back and, kind of wondering, should you have done this or should you have done that? You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes we get a little too, I don't want to say scared, but like we regret things that in the moment, there wasn't anything to think Travion Henderson wouldn't have some sort of role. You know what I mean? RJ Harvey having some sort of role. Like, I think sometimes you just miss, and we're not great at always reading, what situation is going to be a positive or a negative. We talked about it with the Raiders, right? Like the Raiders, everything with the fact that the Raiders were bringing in a veteran coaching staff that maybe they weren't ever like elite, like everybody you want on offense is from that coaching tree or from that offense. But like historically, a quarterback with Geno Smith, who's been pretty efficient the last 2 years, and he goes to a situation where they at least had a decent offensive line coming in and a couple pass catchers. Like you thought it would be usable. I don't think anybody looked at the Raiders and said it was going to be an offensive just juggernaut, right? But you didn't think it would be absolutely dreadful. And that's what it's been. They don't score. They don't run a play. They don't run a lot of plays. I heard the stat on the Yahoo NFL pod. I don't know if you listened to that. The Raiders had as many first down or as many plays run as the Chiefs had first downs. Think about that.
I mean, that's a wild stat. If it was, I mean, that's just crazy.
I didn't look it up, but they said that's a real stat. And I was like, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Like that, the average plays in an NFL game for a team is like 60. Like I know the Chiefs didn't have 60 first downs, but I'm curious if somebody's in the chat wants to look that up. But I heard that like 30 minutes ago, and I was like, that just the fact that that's even a discussion or close shows you just like how bad the Raiders offense is and how bad it's been pretty much all year. So is it a Genty problem? I mean, Genty's averaging 19 opportunities a game. You go back historically, like to be quote unquote like a bell cow, it's around 17 or more. He's at 19. So it's not a workload problem, right? It's not that he's not good enough to earn the workload. It's just the team sucks. And he's not clearly good enough to overcome a bad team. And to be fair, the one hole in Genty's profile was his receiving profile, which people excused away, right? Because what did you hear about his receiving profile, Brandon? Well, he didn't need to catch the ball at Boise because he was so good, right? He didn't need to do it, but look at previously, he was a great receiver. Well, he hasn't really been a great receiver. He has 15 catches this year. But his workload's not an issue. It's just the offensive environment is absolutely an issue. So I think that's one of the takeaways. Like, I'm trying to find it. When I kick it back over to you, I'll see if I can find it. But I'm going to bring up the old historic war charts with war and rookie picks and look at those in perspective of what we're talking about here and just see if it literally tracks with this 2025 class. But kick it back to you. That's the takeaway is I think it's always been a bad bet to bet on guys that are in the back half of the first round and beyond.
Yeah, we were having a conversation this afternoon in the voice chat, and when you really think about like elite players, right? Like elite opportunity, like Igbokwe comes to mind. Tyler Warren so far has produced, although I found some stats this week about Tyler Warren. Like if you really, very interestingly, like Tyler Warren is used very heavily in the first half, and then just he's not even used. Like yesterday was his second highest output in the second half of a game all season long. And it was 29 yards. Like he legitimately just, it's like they script him in and then he just like vanishes into thin air, which is crazy because he's, top 5 tight end in the league. But it's like if they just use Tyler Warren just a little bit more, we'd be having some serious conversations about Tyler Warren being like the guy from the 2025 class. Like it is scary how much they don't use him in the second half yet. That's a takeaway is like honestly, like if you haven't bought Tyler Warren, like he's a guy that I definitely would be buying because I really do like the Indianapolis Colts offense and what they're doing. Shane Steichen seems to have found something that's working with them because JT looks like, peak JT, like guy that some of us kind of maybe, I don't want to say we wrote him off, but maybe didn't have him in that tier 1 discussion. I think that's a takeaway that I could have is like JT right now is producing it as a tier 1 running back. Like outside of Bijan and CMC, is there anybody else in that tier for you right now? I mean, I know it's Dynasty, so it's kind of hard to, look at it from the perspective of like, after production season's over, but I think JT is going to be one of those guys going into the 2026 season that Scott, we're actively going to want on our roster. He's not going to be a guy that's like, they're going to take it.
He was always that.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor before this year was the next Derrick Henry. But what that's not saying is he's going to produce like the next Derrick Henry. He is second in opportunities over the last 5 years. So he is probably the guy where if you had to bet, unless you wanted to bet on McCaffrey, I mean, what he's doing this year is ridiculous. But Jonathan Taylor, there's never been a lack of ability for Jonathan Taylor to command an entire backfield. Like just opportunity share of a run game. He's probably one of the guys, if you had to handicap it before the year, to be the highest percentage, right? What you didn't bet on is the Colts being an absolute truck offense where you just want everybody on the Colts, including the running back that they're going to give top 5 opportunity share too. He was second last year in opportunity share. But guess what? The Colts sucked, right? So it's like you didn't feel it that he was a quote unquote league winner. And it really doesn't even come down to like how many receptions does he get? Like we hear that all the time. How much work is he going to get in the passing game? Like you don't need 90 catches to be good as a running back if you are a workhorse. Now you don't want to have 15. But if you just get 40 catches and you get Jonathan Taylor's workload and it's above average offense, like you are going to be fine. So I think it comes down to really pegging that situation. It's not that hard to necessarily project the workload when you're talking about these elite guys, but then what is the situation going to be? That's the variable that pops up. But I'm going to share this real quick. Let me change.
Yep, go for it.
I'm going to share the draft pick war. So this is looking at 2022 and 2023, and it's looking at the first 2 years of a player's career from a war perspective. Hold on, let me share it if you want to fill the gap here while I find this. I got to fill the image. Boom.
Yeah, this was another one. Like Dart was free money. Like, and that's another situation, right? Dart and Scattaboo. Like the two of them have just been, ever since they've started. It's now, Scattaboo started the season essentially week 2, and Dart started in week 4. But since those two have been on, you feel really good if you held those Jackson Dart shares. You feel much better than probably the person who has Travion Henderson or maybe has Travion. Who else? RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, like anybody who held those 3 picks, you probably are like, man, I probably should have, like if we did a dynasty redo of the 2025 draft, like those 3 guys, those guys probably aren't even in the first round right now. Or maybe if they are, they're like the last 2 picks. But Scott, here's the breakdown of the war in draft picks.
Yeah, this is per year total war for the first 2 years of a player's career historically. So you have obviously the first 2 rounds if you're looking at a 12-team format. And it's pretty much what you would expect. Like the regression line, I wish I could make it a little, this is an image, so it's not something I can edit on the fly, but you see that kind of trend line in the middle, and you can kind of see where the picks are kind of above or below that. But obviously at the very top is where you're getting the best, right? Now, I will say this with the caveat, this is also filtered based on the post-production results. So one thing this does not account for is the fact that we don't necessarily always pick 105, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the right order, right? Like we don't always nail which guy should go ahead of which. We don't always pick those players in the right order. You'll find sporadic busts, and then you'll find players in the second round that are way higher. But this is filtered after the fact, just based on the typical like distribution in a rookie class. So if you look at this, you find a lot of really, I would call it flat production, Brandon, right? When you get down to that like 111 through 205 range, like where typically those players are very much like the same type of bet. There's something about their profile or their landing spot, but it's typically not where you find a first round locked and loaded good situation player. That guy's usually going to go higher. With running backs, we know that goes way higher. If they go to a spot where there's going to be opportunity, people don't care if that guy was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. They're going to push him up into that range or higher. But I think the takeaway from this is like, this is just rookie players. Now go pull up any war or warp tool or whatever that you use and just go look at what you're getting from players in given seasons when they're just startable. Now, we're not talking dynasty value here, right? We're just talking about this is just production only. But like if I showed you the production of something that you could have bought for a first round pick, it far exceeds this. You know what I mean? And this is assuming when you make a pick at 108, 109, 110, that you actually hit on a player that is worthy of that draft slot. Even if you hit a little bit higher. Like really, I think what's not talked about with rookie picks is not that their production, we expect it to be much higher than what you could trade those picks for. What we really like about rookie picks is the what could be. What could it become if I'm right? Even if I'm only right for a short period of time where everybody is going crazy over a player, like legitimately you could have traded Henderson for 2 firsts in the preseason. You know, and if he has 2 good games in a row, people are going to go, you know what? I'm back in. So I think that's why you want to take player. That's a lot of times what drives a player's ADP come rookie draft time. It's not just where they got drafted. It's not just their profile, but it's also their opportunity, their landing spot. But most importantly, it's that thing we've talked about for years, but it's really hard to quantify, that sentiment, that ADV. If I'm right about X, what will I be able to do with X on the market? What depressed asset will I be able to go pivot to for a plus if I really want to? That's why you invest in somebody like Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter hasn't been good, but you know what? After the game that he had on Sunday, you may be able to go out and actually fetch the equivalent of a mid-first or higher in a package after 1 game. You would not be able to. You cannot do that with Devontae Smith, okay? Jordan Addison, T. Higgins. Those guys had good games just like Travis Hunter. You know, the market probably hasn't changed on those 3 players at all. They are what they are. People know they're good, but they're not great. The market demand hasn't changed. Travis Hunter, Brandon, he's the new wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. We don't even know what that means. It probably doesn't mean a better producer than any of those 3 that I mentioned, but right now you can do more with it. And that's not reflected in this rookie pick chart. But remember this, before you draft a player, remember like what the expectation is for that late first. And have a plan. Like if I'm drafting a player and half of the reason I'm drafting is because he has a cult following. And if he has 1 big game, I'm going to be able to flip him. Like remember that when it happens. Because we heard a lot about that with Travis Hunter the last couple weeks. What do you do with Travis Hunter, Brandon? I got to hold him.
Yep.
I have to hold him. You know why? Because I couldn't get shit for him for the last month. But then he has a good game. And now what are those same people that were praying for that good game so they could get out for that first? Those same people may be saying, what if he's a wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I was going to say,
I can't sell him for a first plus. Well, guess what? No one's going to pay that. So you just continue the cycle where you're always higher on the player due to the ADV than the market will ever reflect. And then you just have to always hope that he produces. Because if he doesn't, you're going to be left holding the bag. So
yeah, I was
diatribe on picks.
Well, but I was gonna say, you know, I've got my Travis Hunter. You've got Jordan Addison in a sec. Can I get your Jordan Addison in a second for my Travis Hunter? Because
from me, no. But I think
from you,
I think that is a legitimate deal. That if you sent it out, really, if you told me Travis Hunter basically becomes those 3 names, and then Ray also mentioned George Pickens and then Jalen Waddle before Tyreek's injury. Those 5 are the prototypical. Those guys have always been good. There was never a question whether they were good, whether they could earn a 20% target share, whether they had the ability to be a wide receiver 2, maybe low-end wide receiver 1. None of them are seen on the market as they're going to exceed that. Yep. You know, there's been the windows where the primary is injured and, you know, you see Pickens put up multiple top 10 weeks, but ultimately those guys are wide receiver 2s, but nobody questions whether they're good. Yep. Nobody questions their rules, their usage, whether they're going to get a target share. Like when they get opportunity, they're going to give you X.
Yep.
But it kind of feels like we don't know if Travis Hunter is ever going to be more than that, but the current market sentiment may say he could be. And that's why you make that pivot. A sharp manager is probably going to go, At bet, the aggregate probably says Hunter gets into the range with those guys. I hope in 2 years we're talking about Travis Hunter going, man, well, Brandon, for his career, he's averaged 13.8 points per game. That'd be great for him. But the market may have a higher high right now, and that's where you could take it. That's why you want to draft some rookie picks. You don't want to constantly trade every pick for Devontae Smith because you just give yourself very limited windows to do much.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, and this is the kind of guy that where you're just like, hey, he's produced, like Cam Scatterbo is another one, right? You could probably get a first for Cam Scatterbo right now. Like easily. I mean, but here's the thing, Scott.
What's the benefit of doing that? I'm going to push back on you. If I'm in a position where the only thing I want to do with my team is blow a first for a running back, that's my only goal. I don't care about profit. My goal, I am spending my first on a running back, period, the end. No negotiation. I'd do it for Scatterbo. I'd do it for 10 other guys because I don't look at a player like that. I don't care what else I can do with him. So, like, to me, that's not even really an edge because I'm looking at him like he has checked the box. He's probably a guy that will continue to have a role. He's a good receiver. He's earned a certain share. It's probably not going to go away anytime soon. I don't view that as a profit. You know what I view as a profit? You give me a first and another running back. Can I do that?
Yes. Can I get
Rashad White in a first? I'll take my chances the guy I'm getting back, and not that Rashad White replaces Scatterbo, but if I can collect guys like Rashad White,
yes,
I'll find a running back room the rest of the way as I'll continue to stash the first for something later. But it's got to be that type of deal. I don't want to do a 1-for-1.
Yeah. Can I get Trey Benson in a first? Can I get
like it?
You know what I mean? Can I get it? It might not be feasible right this second, but can I get Rico Dowdle in a first?
How about Chuba in a first?
I mean, possibly even Chuba. I mean, he's one that we're going to talk about in a few moments here. Like guys that the sentiment on them has kind of softened, but I can still get with a baseline first because we did the conversation. We did this thing on Friday. Like I wrote out literally all the day 3 running backs that are currently right now, like starting. The list is not very long. It's maybe 7 running backs. And of those 7 running backs, Kyron and Bucky were the only 2 that I could recall in the day 3 realm where you're like, yeah, I could have gotten at least at minimum of singular first plus. Like I could have gotten a first plus for those guys, right? Like most of these guys like Pacheco and Chuba, nobody's giving you a first plus, but they'll give you a second and, a Trevor Etienne, right?
Yeah, I think you're underselling though. I think with Pacheco, with Chase Brown, even with Chuba last year, like there were times where you could have found the right manager to give you a first and something else. Maybe it's small, but like, here's the thing. We know it's not a good idea to project a day 3 running back into a second contract, right? Like where Kyron has gotten to is an outlier. But I think there's probably a pretty good bet that Chase Brown will get a deal somewhere. It may not be the same deal that he has today. It may never be as good as it was last year. But he'll be a running back on a 53, right? He'll probably be a platoon guy somewhere, if not a starter. So I think it's more of like there really truly is a process here. You have to decipher which running backs are difference makers and why are they like that? Is it a workload thing? Is it an efficiency thing? Is it both? And then just how much of running back do you care about value?
Right.
How much of your roster do you have to have running back value on? Really, it's like it's an extrinsic value thing. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but like, let's say you don't have any other car except for the old junker that you've had for 15 years, right? Think about that. I mean, in my past life, I still work in insurance, but my past life, that was one of the things I dealt with where, Brandon, if you drive a 15-year-old car with 200,000 miles, blue book value on it's like $2,500, maybe less, depending on the make and model, right?
Right.
But you know what's worth more than $2,500 to you? A car that gets you to work.
Yep.
So there isn't a price. Now you realize there is a market. You realize that, yeah, to me, it might be worth 10 times that because I don't have any other alternative. But you can't then go to the market and go, well, this is worth so much more to me. Someone needs to pay me 10 grand.
Right.
That's not what it is. That's running backs. That's most running backs. And when you build your roster right, you'll always have something extra to drive.
Yep. There you go, friends. There's your rookie in a nutshell. Scott, I want to do some panic and patience because there's a lot of people that we're getting to the middle. Again, we talked about it earlier. This is the middle of the fantasy season. People are starting to make the fork in the road decision. Either my team is going to tank or my team is going to lean in. And there's some guys that I think some folks are going to panic on, and some folks just want to exhibit a little bit of patience. So I've got a list, and I'm going to give you each player, and you just tell me panic. I think people are going to panic, or people are going to should be patient. All right. Should we panic or be patient with Trevion Henderson?
Patient.
Okay.
And give me 15 seconds on each player. The
Sure.
reason you'd be patient is because he's fallen below where he's anything but just a commodity. He's a running back. He's on a 53. He probably will get many opportunities because of where he was drafted, and they're the type of opportunities you probably want with his profile. So as soon as you adjust to the fact that he's now in Trey Benson range from last year, where it's like, okay, he's maybe by the end of the year, if nothing changed, he's worth a second.
Okay.
And that's what he is. He's a running back. So I don't want to give him up for nothing because it probably fits a right roster build. But in terms of if someone's going to give you a first because they still like him, fine.
Okay. Panic or patience on Chase Brown?
I'm fine with him. I would say patience because, again, there's even less appeal of having Chase Brown. So, you either need him or you don't. And at the same time, he's the type of player, if you don't need him, Brandon, and you have somebody else that's like you didn't expect Woody Marks to pop up, but you have him now. Like maybe you don't need Chase Brown. You just get rid of him.
Panic or patience on George Kittle?
Patience on George Kittle. It's a great offense. It's a great offensive environment. The defense probably isn't as good as they should last night. Like the Niners have carried pass catchers for years. So yeah, he'll have his days.
Panic or patience on Breece Hall?
Why are you asking me all these running backs?
I know.
They're all the same. They're all
the
put it this way. There's not a running back Brandon has mentioned yet where I'm betting they jump into the range where I can't live without them. So I either have them on my roster, but if I have too many of them and I have a bunch of bodies and it looks like I'm going to be able to get through the season, sure. I think the wild card on Breece Hall is I know for a fact if he goes somewhere else, the community will bump him up 20%. Anywhere else but the Jets. You know what I mean? And that's probably going to come in the offseason. So I don't mind having some Breece Hall. I'll just use him when I can the rest of the way. But there will be that bump in March when you get the note that he signed a 4-year deal with the Bears and people are just go insane. You know what I mean?
Yep. Panic or patience on Jaden Daniels?
Panic a little bit, only because I don't want to say he's kind of taking the Burrow type tumble, but it's hard to necessarily think he's going to get to the difference maker range. I mean, this was like the 101 for some people in startups, Brandon. And the fact that he comes back and he's just like a top 8, top 10, top 12 quarterback, like his price has been halved. So I don't know. I'm going to ask you this. Can you pivot off of Jaden Daniels right now? Can you go and get one of the non-elite quarterbacks that is smashing and get a first? Can you get Dak in a first? Can you get Baker Mayfield in a first? And I'm not talking 112. I'm talking like you're a fifth place team that just lost a couple players and you want the 2027 pick of an older team. Like there's some risk in the pick too. Can you do that?
I think you can. Can you get Drake May in a first?
No.
Okay. Didn't think so.
I think if we did a poll, 60% would take May over Daniels straight up.
I mean, Sean here, one of our members, would take May right over Daniels.
So there is no first there.
There is no first. I don't even think
there's
a second.
How low would you go? How low would you go on Daniels? Because I honestly think the team that has a guy like Dak, like
they're probably fine.
They're probably going to be 6-1 or 5-2. And if they still have their first, they're looking at that first of, when do I fire that bullet later in the year? It ain't to trade up from my top 3 quarterback Dak right now for an injured Daniels that could miss a couple games. And I don't get to use that first on something else down the stretch. I don't think you get that deal done. It takes some serious discipline to make that kind of trade today.
I'm trying to think like how far down I would go. Because once you hit like a certain level, it's like Daniel Jones in a first. I know it sounds ugly. But it doesn't sound that ugly because he's probably getting a contract with the Indianapolis Colts he's probably 3 wins away from getting a contract with the Colts. That 3-year, 125 contract.
Can you get
here we
see,
go.
that's the problem is when you look at the non-elite quarterbacks, the only ones that kind of get elevated into that conversation where somebody wouldn't make the trade, like Dak or Baker, is the ones where those are on competing teams, and that's just not the type of trade they want to chase right now. But when you start going lower to the quarterbacks that are sucking, like, is anybody excited to do CJ Stroud in a first for Daniels?
No way. That's
Bo Nix in a first for Daniels, Trevor Lawrence in a first. Like, those are just deals everybody would scoff at because the guy they're getting isn't really helping them that much. I think Daniel Jones is interesting, but I don't think people will be able to stomach Daniel Jones being the piece.
It's probably back. Baker. I think Baker Dak is probably where people would still feel all right. Like Baker in a mid first. They probably won't do it. Like, there's going to be people that probably will say in the chat and in the Discord, like, no way, I'm never doing that. I keep giving my JD5. But if you are competing and you are trying to, you got a little bit of panic in you, you got a little itchy self, like, that's probably the type of deal that it's going to take to get there.
Caleb in a first. You saw the Trinity highlight on Caleb. I mean, Caleb Williams is the worst quarterback in the league the last 2 weeks.
Well, like Caleb was on my list to ask you, panic or pressure.
He's right there
with patience.
If you go look at the Bears Trinity week 6 and 7, dude, that looks like a Bryce Young rookie year offense where it's like everybody is miles below the regression line. It's, luckily they've actually won both games. So I don't think it's getting talked about a lot, how poor he's been. But dude, like, it was the Commanders and the Saints. Like, those are bad defenses too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't know. Caleb feels like one of those that you don't want to do it because you have to add a first to a guy that's available and a guy that's been a top 12 quarterback for fantasy thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're truly betting on like longer term outcomes,
mm-hmm.
Caleb's one of those where he has 3 or 4 mad games and it's the conversation starts to flip to, is he what's holding the Bears back a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah. Last one, Brian Thomas Jr. Panic or patience?
Panic if the narrative is you're potentially buying back into a top 12 receiver. Patience if he starts to fall in. I mean, because we already talked about Hunter, right? Like, Ray's just trolling with that. You all know he's just trolling with that. We already talked about Hunter, right? Like, I think you kind of have to look at Hunter and BTJ as they are a little more cloudy version of like all the other offenses we talked about. Like, one is going to emerge to be better than the other, but like, kind of at best, if you're wrong, you still end up with one of those guys that's a wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 3. But I just don't know, man. I don't know. I still think there will be enough people because of last year that are willing to buy BTJ a little bit higher than what I think you would expect for a player that didn't have his profile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, are you trading Thomas on a contender? And if so, for what? I mean,
he's an investment vehicle for me. I'm looking at him like he's at least a mid to high first that I have to trade.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'd probably look to pivot off because here's the thing. I don't think you need to hold a ton of receiver value. Like, you do not need, I used to be this way. Anybody that followed me back in my old Patreon and stuff, I used to be Mr. I want to ideally build a team with 5 top 24 receivers. You know what I mean? But you don't need to do that today. I mean, just go use the Trinity tool and go look at the number of receivers that get difference making usage and then the everybody else's. I mean, I was talking, I don't know if you were in there earlier, but I had a league this week where I had already intentionally gone slim at receiver. Mm-hmm. And Brandon, I had to throw in absolute turds at receiver.
Yeah, I was already slim. It was pretty rough.
I was already slim. I started a league where I only had 5 receivers to start the year. And the best one was like Jacoby Myers, Keon Coleman, Calvin Ridley. This week, I used the Trinity. I looked for opportunity. I picked up Van Jefferson, Chris Moore, and started Devontae Turpin and got 25 points. Now, you may go, well, that's 25 points. What is that? It's still 25 points. And if I would have told you before the year that I ever would have had to play those 3 in the same week and they gave me 25 points, like, the only difference is most of the time you would never play those guys. So those points would never get talked about. I don't think you need to stack up value at receiver. It's just a commodity. So to the question, what can I get on top of a producer for BTJ?
Can I get
James Cook in a second?
Probably.
Like that type of deal where you never look back when you make that trade. The only thing you did with that trade is you shifted the way you built your team. And the only way you get burned in that trade is if BTJ literally goes back to what he was last year. If he falls a little short of that and he's 80% of last year, great. You traded away T. Higgins at a low moment. You know what I mean? At a dip in his value because his current situation isn't great. But that's it. Like, you're not going to regret the trade.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think going cross-positional might be the best way to do it because you're not going to find, like, especially if you're trying to trade BTJ and trying to go down, like, you're not going to feel like this is a perfect one right here. I was actually in my head thinking Saquon.
Sure.
Like, did you get Saquon in a second? Because the second you start thinking about, okay, can I get like Jordan Addison in a first, or even like this deal by Cam, Olave in a second, you already feel like it's not enough, right? Like, that's instantly like the most. That's what most people are going to feel, right? BTJ or Olave in a second. Everybody's going to be like, BTJ.
Well,
Olave doesn't feel good enough, right? Because of the injury concerns.
It's very easy to compare two like things, right? You put two things side by side. It's very easy to go, okay, Olave or BTJ. And in our mind, we all have that. I mean, just think about it. Visualize right now, two players at the same position. Like, most people that are watching this show or part of our community, like, you've been around long enough that immediately you're going to think of certain things, right? Target share, Trinity score, whatever. It's easy to break the two down next to each other when they're the same position. When you start going cross-positional, I do think that just changes the construction of your roster. You know what I mean? Like, I know if I trade BTJ and he was my wide receiver 2 coming into the year, my roster construction is going to be a little different. I have a second now. I probably have a running back that I'm now pushing into my flex, right? Maybe I have some leakage at running back where I can now trade away a running back because I acquired a guy like James Cook or Saquon. But then I also know that I probably have to play a little bit in the week-to-week, month-to-month type of receiver market, right? Like, I have to maybe wait for the next high run for a guy like a Darnell Mooney or someone like that. And then I might have to buy him. Like, I might need a guy like that where if you built your team where I just want to collect elite receivers, we've all done that, right? You've done that before where you just build through elite receiver and then you get mid-season and guess what? Half of them aren't elite. One of them's hurt. 2 of them are not producing. One of them's been in a shitty situation. Like, we've seen that over and over and over. And really why you do it is because you're holding a lot of value at receiver. So that's why, like, BTJ is just an investment piece. What can I get for him?
This happens to a bunch of us, right? We go elite receiver, BTJ, neighbors, G-Dub. And then you feel by week 7, you're like, well, hanging on by a prayer here. You know, you're 3 and 4.
Well, to be fair, listen, when you get to the offseason and every one of the teams that had McCaffrey and Saquon and all the guys that were the short-term producers, right? Devontae Adams, when the clock strikes midnight and it's the start of week 18 and you happen to go look at your dynasty roster, guess what nobody's going to want? Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, Christian McCaffrey. Nobody will want those guys. Everybody will gravitate towards the, well, damn, Brandon, that roster that you tanked and you have Neighbors, BTJ, and Burrow and all of these guys, that roster is going to look awesome. But here we are in the middle of the season going, if you went into the season with a roster that was full of sex appeal, it's been tarnished a little bit. You know what I mean? It's been a long night. Maybe didn't get enough sleep. Like, it's not looking as good right now. So it's really just a balance of when you identify a guy like BTJ, he's losing his role. It's not a situation where the quarterback or the offense is elevating receivers that don't have great roles. Like, it's just, I have to shift where I put that value on my team. That's it.
Yep. Let's get to a few questions because there's been a handful of them. We got a few minutes left here. Here's a quick one. Jackson Dart or Dak Prescott? I'm assuming Dynasty.
Dart, only because, I mean, Dak's on a heater right now. He probably is going to continue it the rest of the year. But I can see, again, depending on what you're interested in, like, people like Dart, man.
They love them some
Dart's already on the accelerated version of what Drake May is right now. If he continues this, like, you get into the offseason, Neighbors comes back, they add another weapon or two. I could easily see bumping Dart up into where May and even Knicks was coming into the year, like locked and loaded QB8, QB9. And I think he can do a lot more with that.
Easy. Caleb in a 28 first or Drake May? Drake May. I'll take Drake May in that. I'll take Drake May.
I would take Drake May. Some people don't want to pay a first. I'm guessing if you're trading at 28, you've already traded 2, 26, and 27 already. And you have to pay the dues. Like there's extrinsic factors as to why you wouldn't do that. But Jay Rich coming strong. Dart is Bo Nix 2025. Okay.
All right. Here we go. Down 63 points with Darnold and AJ Amon-Ra. So not AJ. Amon-Ra St. Brown going. We good, right? You got like PPR and some completions, maybe.
I mean, if you had to pick a quarterback and a receiver going tonight, with the Igbuka and Evans kind of shakiness, I would probably take Amon-Ra as the wide receiver 1 of the 4 teams tonight, right?
Could I entertain you in JSN or no?
You could go Amon-Ra or JSN. I do think put it this way, I'd rather have players in the Tampa Bay Detroit game.
Yes. I think that'll be the much better game.
Houston game could be a good game, but it could be, 20-17, you know what I mean? Where it's a struggle for both offenses. So I'd rather have probably Amon-Ra, and then, you just need that second game to be.
Yep.
I'm a little worried on the Houston offensive line against Seattle's D. That yes. Houston's going to be able to push the pace and make this an
up and down track meet.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a 38-35 type of game. Like that's not where Houston wants to play.
Nope. 7 Springs I7M 2-5 team. Would you sell Kenneth Walker for Travion Henderson plus? If so, what's a good plus?
Yes, I would. I would sell Kenneth Walker for Travion Henderson plus on a 6-1 team. Is there a difference between the two? It's not like Kenneth Walker's smashing. And Henderson does have as much as people have shit on him, and deservedly so, if Henderson comes out next week and has 6 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown, and he just takes 35% of the running back carries, people are right back in. He's RB7 in Dynasty. You know what I mean? Like it will not take.
They're waiting.
It would take a lot for Kenneth Walker to do that. You would need Charbonnet to be gone, and you would need just Walker to go on an absolute heater. So I'm doing that regardless of my team.
Yeah. These rookie running backs that haven't popped yet, they feel like meme coins where you're just waiting. You got 1 billion of them and you just want to get rid of them the second you get one spike. That's kind of where it feels like. All right. Lambeau Leap 5-2. He has Josh Allen, CJ Stroud as only quarterbacks. He's in a weird spot with no real running backs. And he got offered CJ Stroud and Chris Olave for Nico and Hendo. Should I tend it? Should I take it? I'm assuming it's Nico Collins and Travion Henderson, and you're going to trade that for CJ Stroud.
Here's what I like about it. I actually like teams with Josh Allen, especially. I like teams with Josh Allen going ugly at QB2, right? Like the theme of that deal is I don't have a third quarterback, but I can still liquidate CJ Stroud for non-quarterback assets, right? What I don't like about that deal is I'm kind of trading like Travion Henderson for who was the other piece? Chris Olave?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you're not really getting any leverage there. You're accepting Travion Henderson in that trade as like at least a mid-first or higher. So I don't mind moving off Stroud. I just don't necessarily want that package, but I like doing that because you know why? That allows you to go find. I mean, dude, you can go find the random quarterback that's going to start over the next couple games. I mean, if Marcus Mariota starts, I know he looked a little rough against Dallas, but like historically, when he spot starts, he's not quarterback 29. You know what I mean? He's like quarterback 16. He doesn't kill you.
Yep.
So I think you can literally, if you have Josh Allen, you can literally play I just need a quarterback every week, whoever it is.
Yep. Well, that does it for week 7 of Dynasty Takeaways. This has been fun. We got a doubleheader coming here, Scott. Where can people find you this week? What you up to this week? Because today or yesterday was your birthday.
Yesterday was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. There was no podcast. I didn't do one because I took my birthday off. But let's see. Same old. A Mannequin Chill on Wednesday. Dynasty Deal Show on Friday. Hopefully get a community chat inside the Discord sometime with Ray this week. Both of our schedules are always jam-packed. So finding, an hour and a half where we can sit down and talk. is a challenge, but hopefully we get that going sometime, maybe looking at Thursday. I don't know what his schedule is, but we'll try to get one of those in there. Friday morning drive with Shane, and then Saturday community chat with you. Like that's fun, man. If you like Brandon, if you want more from Brandon and not me talking the entire episode, jump in the Discord Saturday nights. We had a good crowd on Saturday, Brandon. We had like 30 plus in there that were just hanging.
Yep. Good conversation, good chats in there. Patreon.com/allgas. If you want access to the Trinity Tracker, ddfantasyfootball.com. Links are below in the description. Enjoy the doubleheader, friends, and we'll be back next Monday. Till next week, we're out.